I was standing outside the Savannah Country Club, holding the badge they had printed for me, torn clean in half. 10 minutes earlier, I had walked into my brother's engagement dinner as his only family. Then I looked down and saw 3 words under my name, the Charity Case Sister. They expected me to lower my eyes, swallow it, and disappear quietly. But by the end of that night, the family who laughed at me was the one begging people not to look. My name is Claire Dawson. And before anyone in that room decided I was Charity, I had already spent half my life making sure my brother Noah never had to feel like a burden. Our mother died when Noah was 14 and I was 22. Our father had been gone long before that, not dead, just absent in all the ways that mattered. So when the funeral ended and the casseroles stopped arriving, people started saying things like, "You are so strong, Claire." They said it like strength was a blanket they could hand me before walking back to their own lives. I was not strong. I was tired. I dropped out of community college 2 weeks before finals. I told Noah it was temporary. I told myself the same lie. I picked up a morning shift at a diner near the interstate, an afternoon shift folding sheets at a laundry service, and a night shift stocking shelves at a pharmacy. I learned which bills could wait 3 days, which companies would forgive one late payment, and which ones would shut off the lights without caring that a boy still had homework to do. Every morning before sunrise, I packed Noah's lunch in a brown paper bag. Sometimes it was a sandwich. Sometimes it was crackers, an apple, and a note telling him I loved him, because love was the one thing I could give without counting pennies. I ironed his shirts with a towel over the kitchen table because we did not own an ironing board. I cut my own hair over the bathroom sink so I could pay for his SAT prep book. I smiled at teachers during parent meetings and pretended I was not falling apart behind my eyes. No one noticed more than I wanted him to. Once, when he was 16, he found me asleep sitting up at the kitchen table with a stack of overdue bills under my hand. He covered me with his school jacket. The next morning, he said nothing. He just washed the dishes before school. That was Noah. Quiet love. The kind that does not announce itself, but stays. Years later, when he got into college, I cried in the laundry room at work. Not because I was sad, but because something I had carried for so long finally had a shape. His future. I had not ruined mine for nothing. I had turned it into a bridge. So when Noah called me to say he was engaged to Harper Caldwell, I was happy for him. Truly happy. Harper was kind in the careful way rich girls are taught to be kind. She always said please. She always remembered birthdays. She hugged me with both arms, but there was a small hesitation in her, like some part of her was checking whether affection fit the room. I did not blame her for that. She had grown up as a Caldwell, and in Savannah, that name arrived before the person did. The Caldwells owned a chain of boutique hotels along the coast. At least, that was the story everyone repeated. Grant Caldwell, Harper's father, spoke like a man who believed every silence was waiting for his opinion. Vivian, her mother, smiled through tension the way some people smooth a tablecloth over a stain. And Sloan Mercer, Harper's cousin, had made a small career out of posting beautiful photos from expensive rooms she had not paid for. Their engagement dinner was held at the Bellwether Country Club, the kind of place where even the flowers looked like they had been trained not to wilt. White roses lined the hallway. Crystal glasses caught the light. A string quartet played near the garden doors, soft enough to seem tasteful, loud enough to remind everyone money was present. I wore the best dress I owned, navy blue, simple, pressed twice. I had bought it on clearance 3 years earlier for a work banquet that got canceled. My shoes pinched, but they were clean. I sat in my car for 5 minutes before walking in, breathing through that old feeling I had never fully outgrown, the feeling that everyone could somehow see the price tag of my life. Noah met me at the entrance before I could find the table. He looked handsome and nervous, his tie slightly crooked, just like every school picture he had ever taken. "You came," he said. Of course I came. He hugged me so tightly I almost lost my breath. For a second, I forgot the chandeliers, the polished floors, the women looking at my dress, and the men checking watches that cost more than my car. For a second, it was just my little brother and me, still standing in our old kitchen, trying to make it through another day. Then Harper appeared beside him. She looked beautiful in a pale green dress, her hair pinned back with pearl clips. She kissed my cheek and thanked me for coming. "My father can be a lot," she whispered with a small smile. I thought she meant loud. I thought she meant formal. I thought she meant the kind of man who gave long speeches and expected everyone to laugh at the right places. I did not know she meant cruel. A young woman at the welcome table asked for my name. I told her, and she scanned a list. Her smile flickered, just for a second. Then she reached under the table and handed me a silver donor badge attached to a cream ribbon. At first, I only saw my name, Claire Dawson. Then I saw the smaller print beneath it. The Charity Case Sister. For a moment, the room did not move. The quartet kept playing. Glasses kept clinking. Someone laughed near the bar. But inside me, something went very still. I stared at the badge, waiting for the words to change. They did not. Then I heard Sloane's voice behind me. Oh good, she found it. Her friends laughed into their champagne. Not loud enough to be honest. Just loud enough to be safe. Sloane walked toward me in a white satin dress, holding her phone like it was an extra finger. She smiled the way people smile when they want the wound to look like a joke. "Do not be dramatic," she said. "It is just a little family humor." I looked at her. Family humor usually comes from family. Her smile tightened. Grant Caldwell turned from the bar, already watching us. He did not look surprised. That was the first thing I noticed. He looked entertained. Vivian stood beside him with one hand on her necklace, her eyes moving quickly from the badge to the guests, measuring damage, not harm. I should have left. That is what the old version of me would have done. I would have set the badge down, found Noah, told him I had a headache, and driven home with my hands shaking on the wheel. I would have told myself I was protecting his night. I would have cried in the shower later, quietly, where no one could accuse me of making a scene. Good people are trained to disappear for the comfort of people who hurt them. We learn to smile so dinner can continue. We learn to say, "It is fine," because the room gets tense when we tell the truth. We learn to protect celebrations that were never protecting us. And after enough years, silence starts to feel like kindness. But that night, looking at those 3 words under my name, I realized silence would not keep the peace. It would only keep their power. I pulled the badge from the ribbon and held it up. "Who approved this?" The laughter thinned. Sloane rolled her eyes. "Claire, really?" I did not look at her. I looked at Grant. "Who approved this?" Grant walked over slowly, like a judge approaching a bench. He held a glass of bourbon in one hand. The other was tucked into his pocket. "Miss Dawson," he said, "this is a private celebration. I would advise you not to embarrass yourself." That was when Noah turned around. He had been speaking to one of Harper's uncles near the window. I saw his face change as he noticed the badge in my hand. Confusion came first, then understanding, then something harder. He crossed the room so fast that Harper had to hurry after him. "Claire, what is that?" I tried to lower the badge. Old habits are stubborn. Even then, some part of me wanted to spare him. But Noah took it from my hand. He read the words. The room seemed to shrink around us. Noah looked up at Grant, and when he spoke, his voice was calm in a way that scared me more than shouting would have. "Who did this?" Grant sighed. It was a seeding joke. A harmless one. "Your sister is clearly sensitive." Noah stepped in front of me. "Do not call her sensitive because you are uncomfortable being seen." A few guests turned fully toward us now. Someone set down a glass. The quartet stumbled, then stopped. Sloane gave a little laugh. "Oh my God, this is so serious. We all know she practically raised you because she had nothing better to do." That is not an insult. It is just accurate. I felt Noah's body go rigid. "Say that again," he said. Sloane blinked. "Say it again while looking at the woman who worked 3 jobs so I could finish high school with food in my stomach." "Noah," Harper whispered. But he was not finished. "Say it while looking at the woman who sold her engagement ring from a man she never married because I needed textbooks. Say it while looking at the woman who skipped meals and told me she had already eaten. Say it while looking at the only parent I ever really had." My throat closed. I had never told him about the ring. Grant's face darkened. This is becoming inappropriate. No, I said, surprising even myself. Printing that badge was inappropriate. Laughing at it was inappropriate. Asking me to stand here quietly while you call cruelty honesty, that is inappropriate. Vivian stepped forward with her practiced smile. Claire, perhaps we can all lower our voices. Why? I asked. Because the insult was supposed to stay polite? Her smile vanished. Grant placed his glass on a nearby table. You came into our event and decided to make yourself the center of attention. I almost laughed. You put those words under my name. He leaned closer. Then maybe you should ask yourself why they fit. That was the moment Harper changed. Until then, she had looked frightened, torn between the man who raised her and the man she planned to marry. But when her father said those words, something in her face went cold. Dad, she said, did you approve the badges? Grant did not answer. Did you approve them? Sloane waved a hand. Harper, come on. It was funny until they decided to act poor and noble about it. Noah turned to her. You do not get to use poor as an insult while standing in a room someone else paid to keep open. The sentence landed strangely. Grant's eyes snapped to Noah. Vivian's hand tightened around her necklace. Harper looked between them. What does that mean? She asked. Grant spoke quickly. It means your fiancé is emotional. No, Noah said. It means this dinner is built on a lie. The room went silent in a new way. Not shocked yet. Hungry. People who had looked away from the insult now leaned in for the scandal. Noah pulled out his phone. 2 months ago, your father called me. He said the Bellwether had frozen the final booking because of unpaid balances. He said there was a temporary liquidity issue. He said he did not want Harper embarrassed. Grant's face lost color. Noah, do not, I said softly. But Noah shook his head. No. They made you the joke. They do not get privacy now. Harper stared at her father. What is he talking about? Noah opened an email and turned the screen toward her. I covered the venue deposit. I covered the florist balance. I covered the catering shortfall. And when that still was not enough, Claire co-signed the emergency guarantee because my credit alone would not clear it fast enough. Harper looked at me. Claire? I could feel every eye in the room. I did not do it for them, I said. I did it because Noah asked me not to let your night fall apart. Grant's voice came out low. That was a confidential family matter. Noah laughed once, sharp and bitter. Family? 10 minutes ago, my sister was not family enough to be treated with basic respect. Sloane's face had changed completely. The amusement was gone. She looked at the badge in my hand like it had become evidence. But Noah was still scrolling. And that scholarship fund your father toasted earlier, the one he said the Caldwell family revived? The first transfer came from Claire's savings account. She asked for her name to stay off it because she did not want attention. Harper covered her mouth. I looked down. I had not expected that part to come out. The scholarship had been for students leaving foster care, kids who aged out with trash bags instead of luggage. Grant had taken credit for the relaunch during cocktails. I had let him. I told myself the money would still help people, no matter whose name was on the speech. That is another trap people like me fall into. We think being unseen makes the good deed cleaner. Sometimes it does. But sometimes it just gives dishonest people room to steal the light. Grant pointed at Noah. You are twisting this. Noah stepped closer. Then untwist it. Tell everyone exactly how much your family paid tonight. Vivian whispered, Grant. He ignored her. This is absurd, Grant said. We do not discuss finances with guests. You discussed my sister's worth with guests, Noah said. You printed it. A man near the bar coughed and looked away. One of Harper's aunts quietly picked up her purse. The room was beginning to understand that the beautiful Caldwell evening had been held together with borrowed money, borrowed kindness, and stolen credit. Harper walked to the welcome table. She picked up another badge, then another. Her hands trembled as she saw the printed names, elegant font, cream ribbon, perfect little objects from a perfect little family. Then she found mine again on the list and looked at the staff member. Who gave you this wording? The young woman swallowed. Miss Mercer emailed the final list this afternoon. Everyone looked at Sloane. Sloane lifted her chin, but her voice cracked. Grant said it was fine. Harper turned to her father. You knew? Grant rubbed his forehead. Harper, I was trying to make a point. Marriage connects families. It is better to be honest about what people bring to the table. What did Claire bring to the table? Harper asked. Grant said nothing. I did, Noah said. She brought me. That was the first moment I almost broke. Not because of Grant. Not because of Sloane. Not even because of the badge. But because my brother, the boy I had packed lunches for, the boy I had tried so hard not to burden with my sacrifices, had just said in front of everyone that my life had mattered. Harper slowly removed the thin diamond bracelet Noah had given her at their engagement party. It was not the ring. That was still coming at the wedding, a Caldwell tradition, Grant had explained proudly. But the bracelet had been Noah's gift. Simple. Beautiful. Chosen without her father. She placed it on the table between them. Noah looked at it, then at her. Harper whispered, I cannot marry into a lie. And I cannot ask you to marry into one either. Grant's voice rose. Harper Caldwell, do not you dare humiliate this family in public. She turned to him. You already did. Vivian reached for her daughter's arm. Sweetheart, people are watching. Harper pulled away. Good. That one word did what all the crystal and flowers in the room could not do. It made something honest. Guests began to leave. Not all at once. People rarely abandon a sinking ship with courage. They do it politely. A couple near the windows murmured an excuse. Someone's uncle said he had an early flight. Sloane's friends gathered their little purses and stopped making eye contact. The staff moved carefully around the tables, pretending not to hear while hearing everything. Grant tried to regain control. Everyone, please, there has been a misunderstanding. Noah picked up my torn badge and held it where the closest tables could see. This was not a misunderstanding. This was a decision. Then he tore it in half. The sound was small. The effect was not. I looked at Grant Caldwell, at the man who had thought money made him tall, at the man whose perfect evening was collapsing because he could not resist making a tired woman feel small. You called me charity, I said. But charity is what people give when they have enough to spare. What I gave my brother was not spare. It was rent money, sleep, school, years. It was everything I had, handed over quietly because I loved him. Grant's jaw tightened. And what I gave your family, I continued, was mercy. I let you stand under lights you did not pay for. I let you take credit for money you did not raise. I let you look generous in front of people who never would have known the truth. But you mistook my silence for shame. No one moved. I placed the torn badge on the table. I am not ashamed anymore. Harper started crying then, but she did not ask me to comfort her. I respected that. Some lessons need to hurt before they heal. Noah took my hand. We are leaving, he said. Grant snapped, if you walk out, this engagement is over. Noah looked at Harper. She looked back at him with tears on her face. Maybe it has to be, she said. At least for now. There was no dramatic music. No shouted confession after that. Just the ugly quiet of people realizing they had reached a point words could not decorate. Noah nodded once, like something inside him had broken cleanly instead of bending. Then we walked out. The night air outside the country club was cool and damp. Beyond the columns, the parking lot lights glowed against the dark. I could still hear muffled voices from inside. Damage control had begun. Vivian would be asking who had posted what. Grant would be calling someone with a last name that opened doors. Sloane would be deleting stories and pretending she had been misunderstood. Noah stood beside me, still holding the torn halves of the badge. I am sorry, he said. You did not print it. I should have seen them more clearly. I looked at my brother. He was not 14 anymore. He was not the boy I had tried to protect from every hard truth. He was a man who had just lost the future he thought he was stepping into because he refused to step over me to get there. You saw them tonight, I said. That matters. He nodded, but his eyes were wet. For years, I thought the best thing I could do for Noah was make sure my pain never reached him. I hid the bills. I hid the hunger. I hid the fear. I thought love meant carrying the weight so quietly that no one else had to know it existed. But standing there outside that country club, I understood something I wish I had learned earlier. Being unseen is not the same as being humble. Being silent is not the same as being kind. And being used is not the same as being loved. The next morning, Savannah did what small cities do. It talked. By breakfast, someone had posted a photo of the torn badge online. By noon, 3 vendors had commented about delayed payments from the Caldwell account. By late afternoon, the scholarship board requested a review of donor records. Grant Caldwell, who had spent years polishing his name until it shined, suddenly could not stop people from asking what was underneath. Harper called me 2 days later. I almost did not answer. Not because I hated her, but because I was tired of being pulled into rooms where other people's growth required my pain as the lesson. But I answered. She did not ask me to forgive her father. She did not defend Sloan. She did not tell me things had been taken out of context. She said, "I am sorry I was quiet for too long." That was all. And maybe that was the first honest thing a Caldwell had said to me. Noah and Harper did not get married that spring. I do not know if they ever will. That part of the story is not mine to decide. But I know this. Noah did not lose a wealthy family that night. He lost an illusion. Harper did not lose a perfect engagement. She lost a lie before it became a marriage. And I did not lose my place at their table. I finally learned I did not need one. Sometimes the people who call you charity are the ones living on borrowed grace. Sometimes the ones who laugh the loudest are praying no one checks the receipts. And sometimes the woman they expect to embarrass quietly is the only reason the lights are still on. So when I think back to that badge, those 3 words do not hurt me the way they were meant to. The charity case sister. They thought it named my weakness. But by the end of that night, everyone knew the truth. I was not the charity case. I was the one who had stopped giving charity to people who never deserved it. And the family that mocked me did not lose money first. They lost the one thing money had been helping them fake.